Okay, I am gonna comment as a game store owner on the whole Nintendo Switch game sharing controversy, which everybody is going nuts about on YouTube today. And spoiler, I'm on the opposite side of 99% of people. So let's go over it. I found this video by Smash JT, which I actually agree with Smash on a lot of stuff, but not on this. And I'm gonna react to his video.
One of the best features of the original Nintendo Switch was if you had a downloaded purchased game, you could play it on multiple consoles, which is something that I did with my kids quite often because we had a lot of fun buying.
So yeah. So if you bought something digital, you basically got two copies for the price of one. That was more of a glitch than a feature. He's going to make the argument that it was a feature, but it was a glitch. And Nintendo didn't really want you doing it. That's why you had to kind of trick the system into, thinking one was your main system and one was your back. It was kind of, it wasn't too hard to do, but it was a glitch. It was a glitch. And also, you're getting two copies for the price of one. Do you really think Nintendo intended for you to get two copies of the game?
Buying lots of different games and not stressing about who played what on which console. As long as they were connected under the same account, there wouldn't be much of a problem. But heaven forbid you maximize the enjoyment out of the product that you purchased. No.
Maximize the enjoyment out of the product you purchase, meaning you get two copies for the price of one.
If Nintendo saw that there's a way that you are squeezing a little bit more fun out of the product that you purchased for, they're going to need to go ahead and fix that little bit of a glitch by implementing an update to the system.
See, so he said it was a glitch.
And this is some pretty scary foreshadowing for the Nintendo Switch 2. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Nintendo has now pushed update 20.0.0 for the Nintendo Switch.
So what this does is it's getting ready for the Switch 2, and it allows you to share your games, but only one person can play at a time. And it is an actual legitimate way to share your games. You can move them from system to system, but only one person can play at a time. And that's what everybody's pissed off about.
It's already causing frustration everywhere. In what I could only surmise.
It's not causing frustration for me. I actually like it as a game store owner because why in the world should I have to compete with somebody getting two copies for the price of one? Yes, you were much better off to buy it digitally. Now, I said this years ago, like people buying digital games, eventually it was going to get to a point where they were going to remove game sharing. And the only reason I thought they were doing game sharing on a lot of, on Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo was to get everybody hooked on digital, and then they could pull the rug out from underneath you down the road.
As an aggressive push for control over digital products, Nintendo has done the ultimate nickel and dime move where they have updated their console to the point where you can no longer share your digital purchase with family members. You need to buy another copy of the game.
That's not true. You can share it, but only one person can play at a time.
If you want them to be able to play online with you, because Nintendo is not a charity and they need to make as much money as possible.
I agree. Nintendo's not a charity. They're not your friend. They're in the business to make money. These game companies are not your friends. They want to make money.
Apparently one isn't enough. JT. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full article breaking down exactly.
If you like Smash, give him a like. If not, don't. Give him a follow. I agree with him. I think he's a little bit hyperbolic, but I mean, I like him for the most part, but I don't agree with everything he says.
Exactly what Nintendo did to ruin their online game sharing, because previously you only needed to purchase one copy of a digital game, say Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and you could play it online with another family member and they could just use your account and use that game.
Once again, great value for the consumer, but why should you get two copies for the price of one? And also, as a game store owner, that's not cool. It's not cool for me to have to deal with. I get it. I would have bought digitally, except for the fact you don't own your digital games, and this is just another way to prove you don't actually own your games.
Now, after the update, nope, you gotta buy another copy of the game because, of course, Nintendo needs money, guys. I mean, their stock's at an all-time low right now.
This is kind of a dumb argument. Yes, Nintendo needs, every company needs to make money. That's they're in the job to maximize their profits.
Oh, wait, no. I meant all-time high. In an aggressive push towards digital control, Nintendo has now quietly dismantled one of the most useful features for families on multiple console households: online game sharing, which is something that I personally
Useful features for families. So a way to skirt the system and get 2 copies for the price of 1. That's not a good. It's not a good lesson to teach your kids. A way to use a glitch to get an extra game out of one purchase.
took advantage of with my son, especially when we played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe online. But this update now completely wipes out the ability to do so, which is great. Thanks, Nintendo. With the introduction of that new virtual game card system that they announced during a Nintendo Direct prior to the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, Nintendo's now treating these digital games like physical cartridges, which sounds innocent enough on the surface and something that I was initially interested in seeing. Okay, I can kind of see where they're going here, except for the ultimate, the more they implement, the more control these companies try to take away from you.
Now, he just said the more they implement, the more companies try to take control away from you. I agree companies are trying to take control away from you, but you gave them the control by going digital. By going digital, you don't actually own any of that stuff. If you actually read the fine print, you gave them the control. If you continue to buy digital, you have control. You can resell it. You can give it to a person in your family. You have the control. Going digital is less control. It's more convenient, less control.
And the less power you have with your own purchase. The update completely breaks the ability for 2 people to play that same purchased digital game online at the same time across different consoles. This was previously possible using the primary-secondary console system, where a game that was bought by one user could be played online simultaneously on both systems with separate accounts. But now that flexibility is gone. Why? Because Nintendo, of course. While some people might be hearing me say this and say, whoa, let's defend Nintendo for a second here on this, because you shouldn't legally be able to share a digital product because you need to buy it for each console, just like a physical game cartridge. It's no different than that, right? Why?
It should be. Why should I have to compete with Nintendo giving or anybody getting 2 copies for the price of 1?
Why would they let you do this? I mean, basically, you're stealing from Nintendo if you're sharing your online digital purchase with someone else, right?
Kind of are with game sharing.
No, actually wrong, because pointed out by Nintendo Prime on X, he said this was a...
Oh, because you point out one guy on Twitter. Yeah, that makes it... It's good point there, Smash JT. You're going to point out Nintendo Prime, which I actually follow Nintendo Prime, but he's wrong on this.
Bug, not a feature. Nintendo's own fact before last night and has an archive of it and says this is now removed. You can still trick it to work with single player via airplane mode, which is clearly a bug as it's not mentioned in the FAQ anymore. It was literally a feature before, and Nintendo said out loud we could keep the old way of doing it if we wanted. They said it.
If that is true, Nintendo never really intended that. Yes, maybe they kept it for a while, but they don't want you getting 2 copies for the price of 1. Sorry. It was a bug. It was a glitch.
Then they removed it. That's what a lie is, folks. This does not work anymore the way it once did. And he attached a screenshot of the web archive photo of what Nintendo used to say.
Let's see. How to play the same digital game at the same time with a different Nintendo account. If you want to play your game at the same time, someone else also plays it, make sure you are playing on the system that is not your primary console. Where did they get this from? They didn't link to it.
With the how to play the same digital game at the same time with different Nintendo accounts. If you want to play your game at the same time someone else also plays it, make sure you are playing on a system that is not the primary console for your Nintendo account. You will need to have an active internet connection on that system. The other user must play on the primary console for your Nintendo account, which was a basic workaround for saying, okay, we know you're not just sharing this with the world. It's someone clearly in your household that is connected to your household account, and these connected accounts are together. So sure, it's a feature you can share these games with each other and play them at the same time. And now, you can't do that anymore.
You still can. You just can't play them at the same time. You can still share them. You just can't play them.
Nintendo continues to hit new all-time highs in the stock market with each passing day.
So his argument is because Nintendo's doing well, they should just give you games.
Doing so, it's pushing even further into those weird levels of greed, using every available option, pulling...
It's kind of greedy to not support mom and pop game stores. Just going to throw that out there.
Seemingly every proverbial lever, just to nickel and dime their own customer base. And this is on top of jacking the game prices up from $60 to, in some cases, $80 USD per game card.
Let me just tell you about the $80 price point, and I'm going to relate it to inflation. So when the Switch came out, it was 2017, and if you take $60 and adjust it for inflation from 2017 to 2025, it is about $80. So Nintendo is just trying to make their business. They're trying to make the same amount of money that they made in 2017 on this thing. And now everybody hates me when I talk about this, and they say, you know, it's just being greedy. It is not. Sure, Nintendo's not your friend. Sure, they two things can be true at the same time. Nintendo can be greedy, and they want to adjust the prices for inflation. And none of you guys are going to like this, but $80 in a year or two from now is going to become the new norm, especially like when Grand Theft Auto comes out, and they probably have a $100 version, a $90 version, an $80 version, depending on what you get with it. But $80, I think, is going to be the standard in a few years, and I'm not saying that's good or bad, but you got a new system coming out, and you have to set a price for what you think it's going to be. You can't just it's better just to rip off the Band-Aid, in my opinion, right now and get it over with.
Cartridge, and many of the Switch 2 games won't even have the game on the cartridge. Like all of these.
Now the key card thing that he's talking about there, where it's just a key on the cartridge. Now, what's ironic about this is they already do this, especially Take-Two. Capcom's notorious for it, which they're doing on Street Fighter for the Switch 2. There's a lot of Switch not a lot, but there's a lot of stuff that comes from Capcom, Take-Two, where all you do is you get a small portion of the game, and you have to download the rest. It's essentially a key card. Now, as a retailer, I don't have a problem with it because you can still resell that. It still has value. You can transfer it to somebody else. You can trade it. You can let somebody borrow it. And whereas a code in the box, once that code is used, it's useless, to anybody else. It's stuck to your account. So key card is somewhere in the middle between digital and physical. And personally, I don't like it. I'm going to try to get most of the games that are on the cartridge completely, like Cyberpunk or like Mario Kart is completely on the cartridge. But the key card thing is nothing new. I love how everybody's acting like it's something new. It's not.
These anti-consumer practices keep happening.
Anti-consumer. So this is where he loses me. Anti-consumer. You know what else is anti-consumer? Buying digital. You gave up all your rights. So you gave up the rights if you buy digital.
Over and over and over again. At some point, you got to wonder, when are people going to draw a line? Well,
I agree.
Of course, at the end of the day,
Start
they're
buying
a
physical.
business and they're here to make money. The fact is, the goodwill they've built up with their customer base over the years is taking a major hit as of late.
It's not really. Sure, they got a lot of negativity on like YouTube and on Twitter and stuff like that. But I can tell you as a retailer, there's so much interest in the Switch 2. And once Mario Kart comes out, it's not going to matter. I love all the people that are bitching about it, but they all posted how they reserved it, and they all posted how they're excited for Mario Kart.
And none of this is even taking into account the rising prices that they've jacked up for all the hardware that they're selling alongside the Nintendo Switch 2.
I will agree on this thing. This thing probably should, this is a tech demo. It probably should have been included.
Or that they decided to charge $10 for Welcome Tour, a game that clearly should have been included with every system as a fun little tech demo for the experience.
To be honest, that's probably just Doug Bowser being an idiot, whereas we used to have Reggie, and Reggie would have made sure this was probably a pack-in, or it was, installed on every system.
They want to nickel and dime, it feels like, every little thing along the way. Now, I keep saying nickel and dime, but it's more like $10 and $20 everything they can do, which I'm sure Nintendo's looking at the situation like, it's a new console, we've done this before, this is old hat for us, we know to cash in.
You had your two PlayStation I had two PlayStation 5 I traded in. Oh, nice. All right, cool.
On the hype cycle that we're entering right now. And that might work out. In fact, I would argue, because the pre-orders sold out basically immediately, that Nintendo is on the right track with their thinking. But as I've been saying the entire time, what happens after that initial stock sells out?
I'll tell you what happens. It keeps selling. It keeps selling, and it keeps selling, and it keeps selling. And Nintendo is super smart. I love when they release like a system in the spring or summer like they're doing now. And the demand's not quite as high, but all the early adopters, they want it. And then you got a few months of like, you'll have, hopefully they can catch up on stock for the Christmas season. It'll be the hot thing for this Christmas. Now, beyond a year or so, we'll see like how well it's doing. I don't think it's going to sell as many as the Switch 1, but I could be wrong on that. And the Switch 1 may become the largest selling system of all time. It's actually on pace too. And I think the demand is still going to be there for quite a while.
Is the demand going to be there for the Nintendo Switch 2 in the future?
Yep.
And even more concerning is third-party support. Not that the companies aren't going to make...
It's already got better third-party support than it did for the first Switch. When the first Switch came out, a lot of companies weren't even making games for it. Like EA took a while, Take-Two took a while. 2K didn't put sports games on right away. You already got Madden coming out for it, which is kind of interesting. So it's already got better third-party support than the first Switch already had.
Make games for it, but why would customers purchase third-party games on the Nintendo Switch 2 when they possibly could be costing upwards of $20 more than where you could get them other places, specifically on Steam, and just get a Steam Deck and play them anywhere? And if none of this works out for Nintendo...
That's a dumb argument. To be honest, sure, if the majority of people, if you're smart enough and you're a big PC person, Steam is probably, way more enticing to you. For the average gamer, they don't want to deal with Steam and installing stuff, and computers are a lot more technical. And to be honest, most people that buy consoles, they buy them for the exclusives. So you're not going to have your Nintendo stuff on Steam. So that's this is just a silly argument to compare it to Steam.
Nintendo, they're going to look back at these moves and ask themselves, was it really worth it? Because it's yet another example of the industry's bait and switch tactics, aggressively pushing players towards digital purchases, and then, as expected, slowly start stripping away features post-sale to squeeze out even more money.
Yeah, so they were doing the game sharing to entice you to buy digital, and then once it gets to a certain point, they pull that rug out from under you. You know what the solution to that is? Buy physical. Buy physical, you have way more control.
From people. Now, if my son and I want to play something like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe online together on separate Switches in the future, we will now need to purchase a second full-priced copy.
Crazy, because, that's the way games have been forever. It's not... I don't understand this logic. Just because you could kind of glitch the system and get two copies for the price of one doesn't mean it should be that way forever.
Just to be able to do what we used to be able to do and was allowed under Nintendo themselves for free. Nintendo claims that the upcoming Switch 2 will fix some of the new game share features, but that fix will only be for certain titles, and obviously with that stipulation of only with local wireless. That's far from any kind of real solution. The bottom line.
Oh yeah, so what they're doing is they are some games have game share locally where it basically streams to the other Switch. So the DS had this, and the 3DS had this, where you only need one copy of the game. Like for example, to play a Mario Kart, and the other person could connect to it, and it would let you both play off of one cartridge. And there was only a handful of games that did that, so we'll see how it works with Switch. But hopefully that'll work well. But it probably depends on your internet connection.
Line is, Nintendo didn't just change the rules, they took away a massive feature that people paid for.
Well, to get off a little topic, any thoughts on the Ghost of Yoji? I hope it's good. It's got some red flags. The first one was one of my top games of all time, and I hope the second one lives up to it, and I hope it's not. I hope they didn't mess anything up. We'll see.
And now they're hiding under the guise of, oh, this is progress because it's the future of digital ownership. And isn't it just a great thing to
digital ownership? There's no such thing. You do not own any game digitally. If you read the fine print, you're basically leasing it. It's a glorified rental. You don't own anything you buy digitally. And I want you to be able to. I want our laws to change. I want you to be able to sell your digital games. And before anybody, says I'm just anti-digital, I'm not. I actually buy some digital games myself, and I wish I wish you had the ability to resell and trade and all that stuff. I thought by now I would be buying and selling digital. We need new laws. We need laws to catch up.
To have digital stuff, guys. I mean, you can kind of own it, at least at first, but over the years, we'll just change the terms and conditions, and now you don't really own what you thought you owned anymore. And
you never owned it.
We're Nintendo, and that's what you have to deal with. Nintendo Prime continued on X saying, I love Nintendo's products, and I am stupidly excited for Nintendo Switch 2, but I don't like lies. He goes on to say, one final thing. I defended virtual game cards because Nintendo said it was optional and didn't replace the current ways. Then they did this.
That makes no sense.
It feels so dirty. And while I don't necessarily always agree with everything Nintendo Prime says, I am in lockstep with him on this situation. I feel like this is a very terrible anti-consumer move in line with a slew of others. It seems like every chance Nintendo has along the way to make a choice on how they're going to treat their customers. It's going to be
good for me as a game store owner.
They always end up picking the greedy, how do we take more advantage of them route, and that eventually is going to end up destroying them. And I say this out of my passion for growing up loving Nintendo. I don't like to see the direction it's been going for them as of late, and I am definitely not alone. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I feel like Nintendo has created quite the mess of a situation that they're only going to have themselves to blame when it all comes.
Pre-order opens, right. I have a pre-order just in case. I have a game store. We're supposed to get a decent amount of them, but I'm never 100% sure. So I don't make any money on game systems, very little. So I always pre-order as many as I can too, because might as well get more if I can. And I even signed up for the Nintendo to buy one directly from them. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully anybody. I've been told they've been shipping them since January to distributors. There should be plenty of them, at least at certain retailers. I know Nintendo doesn't like certain retailers, so I'm wondering how many Amazon actually gets. That's one I think Nintendo doesn't really care for. So I think they might even hold on to the majority of them for themselves to sell directly to people.
Comes to pass eventually in the future for them. But I guess time will tell. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing here, hit that join button. If you want more information, check out smashjt.com for the full article. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.
So there were like 1 million of these type of videos today complaining about game sharing. It was crazy. I could probably, let's see, if I just type game share Switch, let's see what happens. Switch update 2.0 walkthrough. Everybody was bitching about it. Game share, this is a year ago. This is Nintendo's own official how to game share now.
With game cards, you can put a game featuring Mario in this Nintendo Switch system and a Legend of Zelda game in this one, freely inserting the games you have on hand into any system you want.
There you go, buy
But
physical.
what if digital games could be as flexible and convenient as game cards? Well, here's what we came up with. Introducing the Virtual Game Card. In the future, virtual game cards can be used for digital games.
To be honest, I kind of like that idea.
When purchasing the digital version of a game, it will be loaded onto your system as a virtual game card, allowing you to play that title. Your digital games will be lined up as virtual game cards on a dedicated management screen.
I could see there's a lot of games that are moving around because they don't want to go head to head with GTA. They want to either be out before GTA. You don't probably want to come out after GTA because once GTA comes out, everybody's for like probably a month or two or longer. That's the only thing most people are going to play.
Here, you can load and eject your virtual game cards and manage which games you can play on your system. If you have two Nintendo Switch systems, you can eject a virtual game card from one and load it onto the second. Now you can play this game on the second system wherever and whenever you want, just as if you had inserted a physical game card.
I do like the idea
With
of moving
virtual
these
game
back
cards,
and forth.
you can freely load and arrange which games you play on up to two systems. Local communication with your second system is required, but only the first time. You can also lend out virtual game cards to your Nintendo account family group members.
The only thing about this, I will say, is I wish you could lend them out to more than people that were in your original family group. Like, I wish, like, you know, like I could lend it to some, like a friend that's not in my family group and then get it back. But, you know, it's whatever. Buy physical and then you can.
Connect to your family group member system via local wireless when you want to lend a game. Choose the title you're lending and who you're lending it to. And you're done. They can now play on their own system. You can only lend one game at a time to a particular person. Games can be lent out for 2 weeks, after which they will automatically return to you. Making digital games even easier to use. Virtual Game Card.
Oh well, that's my thoughts on the whole game sharing that everybody's losing their minds about. So I'm excited for the Switch 2, and actually, as a retailer, I have zero problems with the game sharing. What's up, Euphoria Films? Sorry, I have no problem with this. So, you know, let me know what you guys think in the comments. But that's it. That's all I got for now. I'm gonna try to do some more. You know what? I'm gonna start doing some more videos from the store. I'm gonna actually start recording some stuff. Hopefully, so be on the lookout for that. I'm gonna try to do a lot more of that. I'm gonna get more back into the YouTube side of stuff, especially since it's convention time. I'm gonna start recording more at conventions and actually editing up some videos and trying to become like a real YouTuber, instead of like, you know, somebody that just dips their toes in it. Good to see you too, man. All right, so I'm out of here. Thanks everybody for watching. And look out for some more videos coming soon. And if you haven't, check out my podcast that I've been putting on YouTube. game store guy. So it's up